All right. Thanks for being here, Duncan. So why don't you start out and just tell you who you are and what you do?
Yeah, Duncan Burke, and I am the director of e-commerce at Roofnest. We manufacture rooftop tents that go on top of any vehicle. And I've been at the company for about 4 years. And, um, a lot of different things can fit under that title. I am managing, our everything related to the website. We're a D2C brand mainly. We're about 85% D2C, 15 B2B. And we do have a separate B2B site. I manage, oversee both of those sites. Have a background in web development and worked at a lot of design agencies. So I pay particular attention to the user experience, kind of own that side of things. Conversion rate optimization. I work with a team of developers who, we are looking for, we're tweaking the website on a regular basis. I manage the email marketing side of things, content marketing, um, paid advertising, and organic. So we've consolidated quite a bit, and that's why we brought you on. And actually, through your recommendation, we brought on a consultant for email marketing too. So um,
Yep.
myself and you guys are pretty much making up the marketing team at Roofnest.
Cool. And yeah, how did you hear about me and
I heard
and
about
SEOasis?
you through Ben Kennedy, who is a partner and CTO of The Feed, providing sports nutrition and that kind of stuff. So it's not really a similar space, but broadly speaking, e-commerce. And Ben, I interviewed years ago at a design agency, and so I was kind of the filter for him to get through, and he was
Mhm.
just like this brilliant kid at the time. And we've kept in touch through the years, and he's just kind of one of those people in my network that I always lean on when I'm stuck. And um, yeah,
Yeah.
he was great. So his endorsement meant a lot, but we weeded it down to two choices. I also just wanted to, pursue on my own. Since I'm finding somebody on organic search, I literally was like, I want to find somebody who's ranking well
Mhm.
for this topic. And I found a local agency, and we interviewed them as well. And
Cool.
yeah, I don't have them as a comparison. It was close in terms of price and all that. I liked the kind of more of the like boutique one-on-one style, just interviewing you, the sense I got with you. Whereas I felt like I was being wooed by the owner, founder, and their like
Mhm.
main technical guy, and they were great. And I just sensed, well, I knew we were going to get handed over to a team, and then
Right.
from onboarding to getting down and dirty in the weeds, there was going to be this personnel transition, and I kind of liked that with you. I just knew what I was getting up front.
Cool. Yeah. Um, all right. And then could you just tell us a little bit about what you were struggling with before signing up? Why were you looking for an SEO agency? What did your business look like before you
Yeah,
took them
so
on?
as a web developer, you have through the years, I've had times when I'm very specialized and I'm just doing, development stuff. Other times I've been, really focused on front end UI UX kind of experience. Other times I've worked for myself and been sort of more of a turnkey, small little agency. And in those moments, I'm not just, highly specialized. So the work I do starts to bleed into these other areas, like just other marketing areas. It's not just so much like, here's your website. Okay, give me the next one to do. It's okay, we built your website. What next?
Mm.
And now I'm kind of like generalizing my skill set, and that puts me in a good position to come into Roofnest, say, hey, I'm the director of e-commerce. I can touch on all these things. When I was first hired, I was very much leaning heavily on the my background as a developer. We were on a different platform. We were on WordPress. When you're running a e-com site that's doing close to 30 million a year, a good steady bit of traffic on that site, and you're running a WordPress site, you basically need to have in-house developers keeping the wheels on the bus.
Mm.
When we switched to Shopify, that also meant now I get to be more of a marketer and less of a developer. In doing that, I started paying a lot more attention to things like SEO. And the specific pain points I ran up against was really just, a knowledge deficit, from years ago when I used to pay attention and what I was doing. And, it's one thing to kind of go in with like, oh, with just sort of a trial and error approach. I'll try this. I have a basic sense of like, I certainly know how to optimize a page, and there's tools that'll help you do that. Is that really moving the needle? What else do we need to do? And eventually I saw our rankings really starting to slip. And that's when it was just time to bring in the experts.
Yep. So why did you decide to hire an agency over, bring someone in house?
Well, an agency gives you the opportunity, I suppose, to understand in real terms the value. And that's playing out right now. So we're I think this is something that I we talked about, at the beginning. I expressed an interest in learning and being a part of the process, not just in handing it over and saying thanks, good luck.
Mm.
And so in some cases, I am that in-house person, and I'm expecting that after the initial kind of heavy lift, we will transition more into you'll start handing the keys over a little bit. Not that there's exactly keys to hand over, but that things will be in place. There'll be a flywheel that then can be managed more in-house, and that doesn't mean we won't continue to build, because as I'm watching this thing happen, I'm seeing how much work there is, how much potential there is. And this isn't just about I know I'm kind of going on a tangent, but it's not just about getting more traffic. And you know or I suppose another way to think about it is, you always want more traffic, and you want more convertible traffic. And really what that so we're looking at it as like data, but really what it means is value brought to the customer. And then they convert because, oh, you're giving them what you want. So that's what
Mm.
you're doing for us. We're seeing the numbers happen. The conversion rates are up period over period, year over year. We're seeing those numbers speak for themselves. But what it's really looking like is we're increasing also that we're improving our user experience. We're getting people to our site who have a high intent, and then also like building out these new collections pages, these new middle of funnel pages, those kind of things brings more value. So,
Cool. Yeah, yeah.
I just see it both as like, this is something that I can start to take over, but there's just a lot of work. We're covering a lot of bases, and that goes on in perpetuity.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned conversion rates and all that stuff. So since coming on, what are some wins or milestones we've achieved together?
Yeah. So data is always pretty tricky to look at. We're when you're looking at period over period, weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever it is, you're always looking at seasonality stuff. I'm sure there's industries like, I don't know, flatware or something like that
Hmm.
that doesn't necessarily, well, even that would be very subject to periods of time, holiday
Right.
season and all that. So anyway, we being in the outdoor industry have obvious moments of um, strong sales and periods where we, are scaled down in those regards. And there's so much in between that running holiday sales, coming off the end of that, any kind of macro fluctuations. You can always add a lot to the equation when you're looking at data, and it gets hard, to have, an apples to apples comparison. But in the analysis that you're bringing, we're seeing, I think one thing just to rely on is sheer volume. When you see really large percentages, and when it's not just one thing and another thing going down, that's where it becomes a trickier picture when everything, all signals, all channels are go. When you look at those numbers compared to how you're trending for keyword visibility overall, it all creates a larger story and it's all compelling. It's not,
Mm.
it's not like you get lost in the weeds of data and maybe you're missing the forest for the trees kind of thing. It's all obviously working. So
Yeah, and in terms of seasonality, it's good to be able to compare those numbers to like look at organic traffic compared to the rest of the month.
non-organic. Yeah, non-organic. Yeah. And that's what you've been showing me, is that even if right now we're experiencing that seasonal uplift as
Yep.
a percentage wise, organic traffic is experiencing a considerably larger uplift than non-organic. So, and
Cool.
that's what we
Yeah.
like. That's the free leads are all on the organic side. So
Yep. Great. All right. And to wrap it up here, what's one thing you would say to someone considering working with us? Um, yeah.
yeah, well, I would say if you're even questioning it, I'm sure there's a reason for that, and I would go with it. Look, that when it comes to all these different channels, there's no way of getting around like hiring a specialist. Um, bring in a specialist. This is all they concentrate on, and there is a tricky thing with SEO that it takes some time, but it's you know we started seeing the impact right away. I mean, in various ways, like ranking signals are, pretty responsive these days. So you can start to see the trend happening. And then, yeah, it might take, a couple of months. I'm sure over 6 months is when you'll really see that impact. And every SEO agency says that. But we're seeing signs right away. So, there's a risk reward kind of scenario in doing this. And I think the risk is extremely low for hiring somebody, and maybe it's very high for not hiring somebody. So anybody considering this is obviously in need, and absolutely go for it. Michael has been, you know, great to work with, very flexible, available whenever I've reached out, and he's on it. He's completely honest and realistic with his approach. I get zero salesmanship out of him, which I appreciate because when you're working with somebody regularly, you don't want to be distracted by those kinds of things. He lets the numbers and the results speak for themselves.
Great. Well, I appreciate the kind words, and that's about it.
All right. Thanks.